can I just, my cat is scratching and she wants to come in. I'm just going to let her in.
Yeah. My dog does the same kind of stuff. It's very annoying.
Come on then.
Hi, my name is Will. Welcome to the Distorted Transmission for this week. I was supposed to talk to two fellas tonight, but one of them is asleep. So I've got the vocalist from a band called Outside In online. How are you, Mikey?
Bro, good. Thanks for having me along. Good to see you again.
Are you writing something down on a bit of paper there?
I was just drawing a picture of you.
Are you taking notes?
Just trying to write your name down so I don't forget it in the middle of the interview.
Thank you. I've known Mikey for about 7 years now, so if he doesn't know my name, it's indicative of how far he's fallen. I interviewed you guys back in February 2019, and you were talking about a thing that you were planning to release, and you hadn't quite formulated exactly what that thing was going to be, but since about a year and a half, 2 years has passed, that thing's become a reality, and it's pretty much been released. So just tell me about the album Karma Train.
I think when we spoke about it, we were probably like tracking drums, or maybe we'd released one single towards that album.
Yes, there was a video with a guy walking across the dunes. I think was it you walking across the dunes?
Right. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was a much younger version of myself. And so yeah, we released like maybe 3 singles leading up to that album. We recorded the drums at Alamy Studios in Blockhouse Bay with good mate Louis. And then we recorded the rest of the elements at Johnny's house, our guitarist's place. And so he kind of produced the majority of that stuff. And then we handed it off to Dave Rhodes to do the mix and master. And we released that out into the world about, just kind of a year, just over a year ago now. So in the end, I think when we were talking to you, we were still kind of figuring out, we'd only recorded, we recorded the drums like maybe 4 tracks at a time over 6 months or more probably.
Yeah. And
then, once we had the drums, we'd go away and beaver away and work on building the track up. And then when Adam was ready to do another 3 or 4 tracks, we'd get him in the studio and smash out another 3 or 4 tracks and just keep building it up like that, because we didn't really have the budget to go into a studio in one sitting. And we hadn't written all the songs. So we kind of put it together as we went. And as we continued developing and writing that album, I realized that it was thematically quite influenced by this book, Siddhartha. Like there was a couple of tunes especially that were directly about that. And then so I started to kind of build that more and more into the album. And by the time we came to finishing it, I'd actually made it into a concept album where each song represented a chapter from this novel, Siddhartha. So it became quite an interesting journey for me, because that book is quite a spiritual awakening kind of story about this dude who tries to discover enlightenment and all these different avenues of life, and then ends up discovering it in the most unsuspecting place. I mean, that's a very simplistic version of the story, but it's a real quick read.
I found that Outside In, you generally tend towards more sort of spiritual stuff when you're writing. The EP was called The Nature of Dreams, right? So that was all about, lucid dreaming and things like that, which is sort of tied into spirituality and that, hippy dippy kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's very our parents' generation kind of hippie sort of influence that I've always had an affinity with.
I don't really listen to a lot of prog stuff. In fact, I pretty much don't listen to prog at all. If you look at the older stuff, like the old classics like Rush or even Genesis, I guess, those are relevant to my childhood. The time signatures were so sort of prevalent in the music that you couldn't help but notice when the end of the bar happened. It'd be like 7/8, and that's pretty much what the song was written about. It wasn't written around a feeling or a flow. There was just this 7/8 pattern that just was relentless. Whereas Outside In, you will have strange time signatures underneath, but there's a lot of sort of flowing elements going on top, so you don't really notice the transitions quite so much. So it's more pleasant, it's less jarring. So how do you sort of approach that when you're writing? Do you actually try to make a point to make it more melodic and more musical?
Definitely. I think those bands that you mentioned, and I think like a certain vintage of prog bands, it's all about virtuoso players. And that's great for musicians who want to analyze virtuoso playing. However, like for someone who's wanting to listen to a song, like, don't get me wrong, a couple of the dudes in our band are really hard out and can do that shit, but it's not about that for us. Like, Johnny will put together a track that's got some crazy time signatures, and then really my primary objective is to, how can I make this catchy with what I do on the vocals? How can I put something smooth and flowing here that catches on a few accents and makes it more accessible and makes it make sense? And that's for me as well. Like, I'm not a virtuoso player, so when I hear it, I have to first count constantly to get to a point where I understand what the fuck is going on.
Me too.
And then I want to do something that's interesting and challenging for us to make, but also I want people to hear it and like it and find something to latch onto in the song. So,
like, musicality first, musicianship second.
yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, we've got cool players in our band, and I'm really proud of
Adam Tobick is a crazy drummer.
And Elliot Park on bass. I mean, the dude he's just done his masters in bass. He's insane.
Is that like a 4-week course or something?
He's just done his master's, like his master's degree.
It's the bass, so therefore it's probably a 4-week course.
Yeah, that's the one. You just download it. It's like a 4-week course diploma sort of thing.
Right.
No, he's a musical genius, that dude. So why he wants to play in a band with a couple of bogans like me and Johnny, I'll never know. But we're kind of spoilt having those guys that have got the chops. And then, you know, both Johnny and I love writing stuff in odd meters. Johnny's the master of it, and, you know, giving it to these guys to reinterpret and put their spin on it, it's pretty exciting hearing it all start to come together.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, you know, Johnny will start by programming some drum ideas, playing the bass himself, putting a couple of guitar suggestions in, and then I'll build some vocals, and me and Johnny will then kind of work on the form together half the time and shape up a demo and then give it to the guys. And then when we get together and jam it, we kind of develop it from there.
I was actually surprised that the first couple of tracks are actually pretty much straight 4/4. So I was like, okay, this is an interesting direction. And then the third song, which is, I wrote it down because I'm terrible with names, Echoes and Stepping Stones. That is a total mindfuck, and I've listened to it about 6 times and I still can't figure out where the one is, like the second bar one. I don't know where it lands. I'm always tapping it with my feet, and I can't find it.
We've got 2 songs that are a 9/8 on that album, and they were the 2 hardest ones for me to approach vocally. And Adam got so mad at the recording of that Echoes one because it's a mindfuck, as you say. Johnny's a musical wizard, but he doesn't read and write music, whereas some of the other guys in the band, they read and write music. So trying to bridge that gap where they both know what the sound is, but they can't talk about it in the same language all the time.
Right.
So it makes it a real challenge. So the guys were grilling, so yeah, Johnny, but where's the one? And Johnny's like, well, I'm counting it like this. And they're like, no, that's fucked. You can't do that. It's like, well, he can. He wrote the song and programmed the drum idea and started the initial concept. He can count it like that, but I just had to listen to it. I actually put them in my earphones and go running and listen to the demos while I'm running. And that's when I do a lot of pull my phone out while I'm jogging down the street and write a few lyrics. But that's where I get the pacing and the feel ingrained into my mind.
I'm much the same. Like when there's a complicated riff or something, I have to sort of listen to it ad nauseum, and until it becomes like a sort of a muscle memory thing. Like my mind knows the song so well that it can guess where it's going to land next.
Yeah, just listen to it on loop and start to get a feel for it. And however you count it is fine, as long as you know where the one is.
Another interesting thing about the double album Karma Train or the fact that it says 12 tracks, is that you've released it as double vinyl, and you were doing was it a GoFundMe or some kind of fundraising thing?
Yeah, we did like a pre-sale campaign for that one.
Right.
Just because our album's slightly over an hour long, so it had to get bumped to 2 vinyl discs because of the length. And being a small-known prog band from Auckland, New Zealand, we're not particularly flush when it comes to spending $6,000 on getting some records made. So we thought, hey, let's do some pre-sales. And we're so grateful because a whole bunch of people jumped on and supported us, and we could afford to hit go on it. And then COVID held it up, and then COVID held it up again. And the masters are on their way from the States, I believe, and it should be getting done really, really soon, but it's just COVID dependent now. Because of that hold up, the pre-sale campaign is still open. And so there's still a few slots left. If anyone buys one before we print the sleeves, we're going to put their name on the back to say thank you for supporting our fund. So there's a couple of people who collect rare vinyl, and there's only 150 pressings of this one. And it's going to be two coloured discs, a blue and a green. And yeah, you get your name printed on the back. So if you collect vinyl, even if you don't like our music, it's kind of a rare, cool thing to grab onto. So
I was one of those people who was one of your kind benefactors. And
yeah, boy.
Earlier today, I went to drag the vinyl out because at the time that you did the sort of funding project, you sent out little care packages to all of the benefactors, which had I think a poster and a little badge and a sticker. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I assumed that I had already received the album, it was all the merch that came with the package. I couldn't find it anywhere. I was like, what have I done with that record? I was gonna show it to Mikey, and we're gonna talk about the record. I've lost it. Talking to you before the interview, you said, oh no, we haven't actually shipped those out yet. Those are just a bunch of merch things that we sent out to everybody. So that was a relief.
Everybody happy while we're taking a very long time to produce the actual record that people have paid for. We feel uncomfortably bad about it, but we're working on it.
Good on you for like throwing in $6,000 into that and actually making it a reality, because I think it is a worthy milestone for our band to do.
I think it's huge. We're really excited about it, and it's made me actually start collecting records, which I didn't do. So now it's encouraged me. I just bought the pre-sale of that new Radiohead thing that's coming out soon.
Right.
And got a couple of Tool numbers on vinyl too now.
Of course you do.
Only a junior collector, but it's good to start getting into it.
Moving forward as a band in this sort of COVID environment, how have you been coping with things? Because you can't practice, and maybe songwriting and stuff is a lot more difficult because you can't be in the same room. So how have you been coping with that?
This lockdown, I've actually managed to get 2 songs underway, which is the most I've gotten underway towards this second album. And I think Johnny's written about 25 tracks, so I need to probably write another 5 or 6 so that we can have a nice mix. We write them together, but the starting point is primarily Johnny at the moment, so I need to catch up just so that it's got it. We'd like to have a nice diverse spread of shit on the album and keep it spicy, keep it interesting.
Right, man. Well, thanks very much for taking the time out of your evening with your cat.
Thanks, Will. No, I appreciate you having me and Johnny along, and hopefully Johnny will wake up and realise what he's missed out on.
Poor Johnny.
But I really appreciate it, bro, and it's also really nice to just catch up with you. It's been a while.
It has. After the COVID thing, we should definitely hang out again. We can
go. Bro, that sounds great.
Go to Parnell and have a coffee and hang out with the rich people.
Sounds good.
Thanks heaps. I'll speak to you later. And thanks to everybody who's watched to the end. I'm sure Mikey appreciates it. Okay, catch you later. See you.
See you, bro.